Welcome to lesson 3 of Adobe Photoshop. What we're going to do with this lesson is we're going to focus on our selection tools. We want to take a whole bunch of different pieces, different images, and we're going to put them in our wood bowl. So we're going to start with an image with all these different little images all around. Let me go ahead and deselect. And we're going to end with this project here. So you're going to go to Google Classroom and open up these projects. So the first thing I want to do is show you guys how to set up your windows a little bit so you can work and see what you're going to create. What we're going to do is we're going to go to Window here, and the first thing we want to do is make sure we have our layers open. Notice I have mine checked and I have my layers over here. If I have this unchecked, my layers disappear. We always want to make sure our layers are open. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we also want to check to make sure our workspace is going to be 2 up. See, notice here I have 2 tabs. It's hard to go back and forth, and you have to remember. So if we just go here to Window and go to Arrange and we go 2 up. I like going vertically because that's how I like to read. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rearrange these a little bit. Window, Arrange, 2 up vertically. There we go. And what I did is I zoomed out a little bit, made that a little bit smaller, and I can just resize my window. And now I can see what I have over here, and I can see what I'm trying to create. So here's what I'm going to start with. So start chapter 3, and this is what I'm going to end up with. Okay, so most of us, let me go ahead and delete this layer. Most of us will have just this background layer. Notice it's locked, and we can't do much with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, and I'm just going to duplicate the layer, and I'm going to have a duplicate. This is good habits. Whenever you start with the original picture, you want to duplicate it. In case you end up with a hot mess, you can always go back to the original. We're just going to turn the eyeball off. Doesn't mean we deleted it. It just means you can't view it. And now this is not locked. What we're going to do now is we're going to focus on our selection tool. So I'm going to take my tools, and notice how I just click and drag it, and I'm just going to drag it over here so it's a little bit closer to my workspace. Okay, and we're going to focus on these selection tools. Notice I have my geometric selection tools here. They're not my drawing tools. Notice the dashed lines. Those allow me to select. That is different than these drawing tools down here. Okay, we've drawn tools. We've been using these like in Paint, but we're not drawing. We're going to be selecting. So we want to look up here at our selection marquee tools. All right, then we have our lasso tools. All right, this is, you'll see how it is. It's just a lasso. It allows us to select with the mouse. The polygon is sharp, straight selections. And our magnetic lasso, you'll see, is a very fun magnetic lasso. And then we also have our quick selection and magic wand tools. These are going to be our really good friend. And we're going to use these a lot. Notice there's a nested tool. So I just click and hold down the mouse, and more options pull up. And then we have our move tool and our artboard tool. So we're going to be spending some time taking a look at these 4 tools, and then as we select these tools, notice we have further options up above, and we'll be learning those in detail. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is we want to take a look at our sand dollar. That's the first thing we're going to select because I'm looking at all these different images, and it looks like the easiest one to select out. So I have my background layer selected, and I'm going to look at my sand dollar, and I'm going to think, okay, with all the tools I have, I feel that my selection tool will be the easiest one to use, the quick selection tool. I come up here and notice my tools. I'm going to hit the little plus because I want to add a selection, and then I also have my different sizes. Notice the mouse size. Well, I got 12 selected, so let me come over here. See, it's really tiny. If I come and make this a little bit larger, then it becomes a little bit larger, my paintbrush. And then you have hardness and spacing. As we become more advanced with Photoshop and the art of Photoshop, you will be playing more with these tools. But for this lesson, we'll just keep these alone, and we'll just keep a plus. And this here, notice there's a little fuzz right there because we're going to have a little feather to it. If I just click once on my sand dollar, you notice now it just selected it. But let me show you something real quick. If I go up here to select, deselect, it takes the marching ants off. So that's how you deselect. So if you end up with a hot mess. Let me zoom in. Notice how this here is not a perfect circle. If I hold down my Alt key, I can zoom back out. All right, so let me grab my quick selection tool, and I want to make sure I get all in there. Notice now it's just snapped itself to my sand dollar. All right, and I want to put my sand dollar on the bowl. And let's see here, I think I made the layer on the wrong one, so I'm going to duplicate the layer, hit OK, turn the eyeball off. Don't worry, my selection's still there. And now what I want to do is I want to go back up here to my move tool, or actually I'm going to go down here to my move tool, and I'm going to hold down the Alt key. Okay, the Alt key, see here, this cuts it. So if I cut it, see how it cuts it? Control Z, undo. If I hold down my Alt key, see I get my duplication button. If I duplicate it, now I can move it. Okay, now I have my sand dollar where I'd like it. So it looks like I place the sand dollar just about right there. Go up here to my toolbar, select and deselect. So that's where I put my sand dollar. All right, the next one I want to select out is this other little bowl with some different little shells on here and a sea urchin. So how can I get this to really select out? There's a couple ways I can do this, but I'm going to go ahead and use my geometric elliptical tool. Now, it's not a perfect circle, so I don't have to worry about it. If I hold down Shift, see how it maintains that ratio, 540 inch by, right here. See how it maintains that width and height? If I let go, see how now I can, but once you let go, you're done. You can move it, but you can't redo it. So it does make it a little bit, you got to kind of really think about what you want to do with the elliptical tool. It does take some practice using that elliptical tool. So sometimes that's not always the best solution, because you really have to kind of eyeball what you want to do. And that's what the book is having us do. And as you can see, I'm even struggling with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here and grab the magnetic lasso. There it is. And with the magnetic lasso, let me select, deselect. Let me get the other marching ants off. What it's going to do is I'm going to use that little hook of the lasso. And I'm just going to, oh, it's the pointer. Double click, get out of there, select, deselect. It's the actual pointer. And I just click once, I let go of the mouse, and I'm just going to go slowly around the plate here. And see how it just snaps itself right to the plate. Now this is nice because there's a white edge around the plate. Boom. Now I have my selection. Come back up here, grab my move tool, hold down the Alt key, and again now I let go of the Alt, and I'm going to place my plate right where I need it. Okay, so I personally like the magnetic tool a little bit better for this situation versus the geometric shape that they had us do in the book. All right, so the next one they have us working on is Sally's Seashells. Now this one is a circle, so let's take the selection off, deselect. Let's zoom in on this.